This week, Mekhi Phifer and Julia Stiles spin Shakespeare in O.
Vincent D'Onofrio tries to get Marissa Tomei to believe in happy accidents.
And Ben Affleck and Chris Rock are along for the ride in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
You can get Desi and I together. She's with him.
They're breaking up.
When people are breaking up, they don't grind. Those two are definitely grinding.
Jealous prep student Josh Hartnett manipulates his classmates into dangerous corners in O. That's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week, and I'm Roger Ebert.
And I'm Richard Roeper. 2 years before Julia Stiles starred in Save the Last Dance and Josh Hartnett was in Pearl Harbor, they made O, a high school basketball update of Shakespeare's Othello. It was put on hold and bounced to another studio, reportedly because of concerns about real-life school violence. Now Stiles and Hartnett are rising stars, but this is hardly a sparkling addition to their resumes. Martin Sheen plays Coach Duke Goulding, who announces the team's MVP at a pep rally.
You know, at the beginning of the season, we decided to go all the way. And I did give it all I had, but that wouldn't have meant nothing if I didn't have a go-to guy.
That's Mekhi Phifer in the Othello role. Hartnett plays the coach's resentful son, Hugo, who orchestrates a plan to break up O and Desi, played by Stiles.
I can't help but think that you should watch your girl, bro. I mean, she and Mike spend an awful lot of time together.
Hugo works O into such a jealous, hateful lather that O explodes during a slam dunk contest. The basketball scenes in O ring false, and the melodrama is ludicrous in the hands of these kids. Hartnett's Hugo isn't clever or convincing enough to make us believe he could move everyone around like chess pieces. For example, he entices Desi's roommate to betray her, but even when the roommate realizes the damage caused by her actions, she just stands there mute like an idiot. And when characters experience 180-degree personality changes and start packing guns and talking murder, it's just plain ridiculous. O is faithful to the original material, but that very earnestness is what makes it so laughably bad.
See, that's the part I don't understand. This is very faithful to Othello. And Othello, of course, has melodramatic developments in it that are pretty hard to believe unless you kind of buy the whole package, which you have to do. I think this is a very good adaptation of Shakespeare into this high school environment. Yes, I do. Now, all the business about the handkerchief and the coincidences and what she told him and what he told her, that's all right there in the original. I think it's fascinating to see it translated like this with these great performances.
Well, who's doing a great performance in this movie? Josh Hartnett?
Yes, he's pretty good.
You think he's good in this? I think he's not up to this role at all. I mean, these are talented. Some of these people are talented. I'm not sure about Hartnett. Julia Stiles is good.
I found a real juice and a real passion in this material.
I thought this thing was a howler. I'm watching this stuff.
Well, then you wouldn't like Othello either, would you?
No, because you'd see grown-ups doing it with Shakespeare's prose, not this prep school basketball version where Josh Hartnett's character is supposed to be so charming and he's not, and people just do whatever he says because he whispers a little gossip into their ears.
He's like Iago. He's charming in the same way.
He's more like a Hugo than a Iago, let me tell you. He's Iago-like.
Why do you feel that it would be okay if adults did it but kids can't do it?
Because these kids can't handle the material. They're not up to it. Well, I don't think they were at all.
Okay, our next movie is Summer Catch, and this is a movie like a well-behaved summer guest who is pleasant and polite and smiles a lot, and you can never remember their name or why you invited them. Freddie Prinze Jr. stars as a local kid from Cape Cod, where the professional baseball scouts gather every summer to watch top amateurs play. He's a southpaw who dreams of leaving his father's lawn mowing business and making it in the big leagues.
Come on, Rod, get up on that now. Wow. Nice, Ryan. How you like me now? Oh, that's nice. Very nice. Done all right.
He falls for Jessica Biel, who's the daughter of a wealthy Summer family. They're sweet together.
I saw you at the game. Those outfits are cute. Nice. They're nice. They're cool. It's cool. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now.
As the Cape Cod season progresses, the players are constantly on the alert for big league scouts.
What's up? Scout 3 o'clock.
Matthew Lillard plays Prince's showboating buddy, a catcher who can calm him down when he's in trouble on the mound.
There go the runners. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Go to third. Double play.
got to say Freddie Prinze Jr. is one of the most likable actors in the movies right now, and Jessica Biel makes a good-hearted match for him. And the cast is filled with veterans like Fred Ward, who plays his father, Brian Dennehy, who plays the coach, and John C. McGinley is the scout from the Phillies. But Summer Catch is completely disposable and non-essential. There was no reason for this film. We've seen it all before. It doesn't have any new angles on this tired old material, and it's almost embarrassing how much it wants to be liked, like a puppy dog. I think it's time for Freddie Prinze to find some tougher material.
I hope so, because this thing is terrible. I mean, I laughed about 6 times, but never when you're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's when he's on the mound and he starts hearing these voices in his head. It reminded me of the scenes in Airplane with Robert Hayes' character. You're too low, striker, you're too low. So he'll hear, you're going to blow it sometime. I believe in you. And then he pitches, and he's not very good at aping and mimicking what a pitcher would look like.
No.
This movie's not very smart about sports at all,
It doesn't know much about
really.
baseball, and in terms of its moral values, it's kind of like an old Horatio Alger movie, you know, where the poor boy with pluck saves the runaway carriage that has the banker's daughter in it, and then the banker doesn't think that the kid from the wrong side of the tracks. And
that's right.
Poor Bruce Davison, you know, who's such a good actor, stuck in this material where he always has to be the wasp dad who never catches on.
But one of the most ridiculous things is his daughter, he wants to send her to San Francisco to work for some investment firm. She secretly wants to be an architect, but I guess that's considered scandalous in his community, so she can't follow her dream.
I would have liked just one sentence where he said why she couldn't be an architect.
You know, who knew that architecture was so frowned upon by the rich set?
You're right. Coming up later in the show, 2 slacker sidekicks become stars in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
I hate how fake Hollywood is.
Coming up next, Marissa Tomei has bad luck with men in Happy Accidents.
Did you go to college out there in Iowa?
Didn't need to. They planted everything I need to know right here when I was 3.
Did your parents travel around a lot as a kid, the military or something?
Actually, I've never left Dubuque before.
Marissa Tomei's streak of hopeless relationships reaches a new level of weirdness when she meets Vincent D'Onofrio in Happy Accidents, a sci-fi puzzler that plays like Memento meets The Twilight Zone. This challenging and exhilarating love story pairs Tomei's romantically battered but still hopeful Ruby with D'Onofrio's charming but seemingly insane Sam. He adores Ruby, and she's attracted to his offbeat sweetness, but there's a bit of a problem.
So your Dubuque doesn't exist?
Yet.
Yet?
Yet.
Yet?
Yet.
So when will your Dubuque exist?
(2470 AD).
Most women would react to that by changing the deadbolt and getting a restraining order, but Ruby has about a 1% belief that Sam might be telling the truth.
How did you find me? You just had that one crumbling photo.
No, the date was electronically printed on the back, and the guy in the curio shop, he just guessed that it was New York City because of all the black clothing.
However, the kinky novelty wears off, and Ruby grows tired of Sam's tales from the future and his claims that her life is in danger.
Time travel is a physical impossibility.
Oh, so was the light bulb, so was going to the moon, so was male pregnancy.
But even then, Ruby can't shake Sam. She believes his elaborate time travel stories shield him from acknowledging a horrible family tragedy, and that only she can save him from a state of total delusion. Unless, of course, he really is from the year 2470 and really has come back to save her, but if she buys into that, she's got to be as crazy as Sam appears to be. Happy Accidents spins the kind of elaborate tale that will create message board orgies as people try to figure this out. And I'm not certain that every thread of the quilt plot is seamless, but the story is original and inspired, and I thought Tomei and D'Onofrio were great.
You know, I did too. At one level, this is a science fiction story, and on another level, it's about a woman who falls in love with a guy, and he has issues. And, you know,
he has issues.
I mean,
That's
in
a good way of
she
putting
doesn't
it.
know, am I being saved from the future, or is this guy just really strange?
Yeah.
And the neat thing about D'Onofrio is he's able to be so sincere.
Right.
And he explains everything. And while he's doing it, you kind of think, I can't believe a word he's saying.
Yeah.
And yet,
But then part of you is saying, wait a minute, you know, maybe this is true.
And so it keeps you going like that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, these two people are so likable that we want them to get together if somehow they can overcome this time-space continuum problem.
You got to stick with it all the way through the end, and I think if you do, it'll pay off. And I think Marissa Tomei, I've talked earlier this year about, I was hoping she'd get a meaty role where you could really be reminded about how good she is. This is the role.
You got it. Okay. Coming up next, Jay and Silent Bob have appeared in all of Kevin Smith's movies, and now they finally get one of their own. Ben Affleck and Chris Rock co-star.
Wait a
waiting for? Action!
And looking ahead to next week, we'll have a special show in which we pick 10 young performers on the edge of stardom.
The buzz that he indicated, that movie's gonna make some huge bank.
What buzz?
The internet buzz.
What is the internet?
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
That's Ben Affleck as the internet coach there. Jay and Silent Bob, of course, are the characters we first saw holding up the wall outside the convenience store in Clerks. They played roles big and small in all 4 of Kevin Smith's films, and in Chasing Amy, they inspired a comic book, Blunt Man and Chronic. Now the comic's being made into a movie, and the boys decide to hitchhike to Los Angeles to demand a share of the action. Along the way, they meet George Carlin, who says the #1 rule in the Hitchhiker's book is offer sex.
Thank God you picked us up.
Well, do unto others. That's what the book says.
Wait a sec, you follow the book too?
I live my life by it.
The movie is filled with cameo roles like the one with Carrie Fisher there. On the road, Jay finds love when Shannon Elizabeth walks into a diner. She's one of a gang of 4 girls on their way to the coast, and Jay and Silent Bob tag along, eventually sneaking onto the set of the movie based on their own lives.
White boys can't fight.
That's Chris Rock as the director of the movie within the movie, and Mark Hamill as the villain. And this movie has to be the boldest in-joke in Hollywood history. It helps a lot, I think, to have seen all 4 of Smith's earlier films, since characters, actors, and situations turn up all the time. Also, you ought to be enthusiastic about comic books and the internet. And you should understand how 4-letter words can sometimes be used just as flavoring and punctuation. Smith loves to write barbed dialogue. Listen to Jason Lee's analysis here of Miramax.
Miramax optioned Blunt Man and Chronic. Miramax? I thought they only made classy pictures like The Piano or The Crying Game.
Yeah, well, once they made She's All That, everything went to hell.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back bites the hand that feeds it, and every other hand in sight, and some feet. If you get the references, it's funny, and if you don't, it's still funny.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just horrible. I mean,
aren't you into this stuff?
You know what? I've seen all his movies, and I know about comic books, and I think Jay and Silent Bob are funny when they're against the wall in the convenience store. But you put them on the road in a whole movie, and this thing was just tedious and smug and just not funny.
Now, one thing it isn't
just
is
not
smug.
funny.
It's not smug.
Oh, it's very pleased with itself to do all these little in-jokes.
No,
and the cameos by the big movie stars, they're winking at the camera and going, aren't we hipsters? We're still hanging out with our old buddies.
That's what the movie is about.
But that's
the movie is about being an in-joke.
But you know what? The in-jokes aren't that funny. The Good Will Hunting 2 sequel, another movie within a movie.
Was great.
No, it wasn't funny.
Now,
it could have been better than that.
Affleck and Matt Damon doing Good Will Hunting Part 2. That was really funny stuff.
Some of the
they get in a fight with each other, and they're arguing about the material. That was all good.
No, the George Carlin stuff, the Carrie Fisher stuff, that stuff, there's nothing funny about that. The jokes aren't funny. And you know what? Jay and Silent Bob aren't that funny in and of themselves. The Jay character in particular, he's just a creep and he's stupid. What's charming about that?
What they are, they're basically kind of stoner versions of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Oh, that's what it is.
Well, there's some big standards to live up to. Okay, our next movie is An American Rhapsody with Nastasha Kinski and Tony Goldwyn as parents who make a daring escape from communist Hungary in the 1950s. One child goes with them to America, but they have to leave behind their infant, Suzanne. She spends the first 6 years of her life on a farm in Hungary, unaware of her true birthright. Kelly Andrzej Bonlaki plays Suzanne at age 6, and it's one of the most astonishing feats of acting by a child I've ever seen.
Muszáj Budapestre mennem.
Olyan szép város. Nem akarsz a nagymamádhoz menni?
Muszáj.
But Suzanne's journey doesn't stop at Budapest. Stalin has died and there are cracks in the Iron Curtain, and a path has been cleared for Suzanne to join her birth parents in California.
Anyád, apád, nővéred. Anyád, apád, nővéred. Menjél szépen.
10 years later, Susanna's a rebellious teenager in the swinging 60s, and her mother can't control her.
That boy is much too old for you. I don't want you to ruin your life.
How do you know it'll ruin my life, huh?
Do you know what your father and I had to go through?
Yeah, I know. You walked 20 kilometers and you climbed under barbed wire, right?
That's Scarlett Johansson as the teenage Suzanne, and as much as I like Johansson in Ghost World, I thought she was a real problem here. She's simply not up to the emotional pyrotechnics required of the role, and her deadpan deliveries took me out of what had been an engrossing story. Still, the first hour of An American Rhapsody is so strong, and the rest of the performances are so beautifully rendered, that I'm recommending this unabashedly sentimental tale from writer-director Ava Gardos, who based it on her own life experiences. And every time I think about Kelly Andrej Bonlaki, I'm amazed by her presence. What a find.
I think I know what you mean by Scarlett Johansson, but I don't know. I think maybe that was a choice that she made to be kind of sullen and withdrawn, because she's under the influence of this mother who is obviously deeply disturbed in some way that she's not talking about. And I thought Nastasia Kinski was very effective here as a woman who was desperately trying to be a happy American housewife in this little suburban street with their nice little house and their carport, and at the same time has this tortured past.
And she's becoming oppressive just as she escaped that sort of regime in her own little kingdom right there in
so
the
I think
home.
that's what Johansson is reacting to.
Yeah, but Roger, I understand that when she's playing the, you know, the sullen daughter, but also when she gets very sad and emotional with her parents, she still has that kind of deadpan performance. But I'm still saying, I think this was a wonderful film.
Oh, yeah, and there must have been a lot of stories like this of people who tried to fit in, and they had a real lot of history that they had to deal with.
And there's something sad about parents who escape like that, and then it just becomes a story that their children roll their eyes at 15 years later.
Yeah, it's not like just because they come to America, they're going to live happily ever after. In the video spotlight this week, the Candyman himself, Willy Wonka.
What's that for? Gives it a little kick.
Ebert and Roeper's Video Spotlight is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. Try Raisinets in new, convenient, resealable bags.
Time is a precious thing. Never waste it.
He's absolutely bonkers.
A handful of movies break out of the time when they were created and become timeless classics. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a movie like that, made in 1971 and still familiar to almost every child 30 years later. It's in the video spotlight this week. The beautiful new spruced-up print of the film stars Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, the mysterious chocolate manufacturer who gives away 5 golden passes to his factory. Of course, he has a lot more in mind than a free tour for these kids.
Ding, sweet lovers love the spring. I told you not to, silly boy.
Your teeth! Boy, that's great stuff.
That's exploding candy for your enemies. Great idea, isn't it?
The DVD's bonus features include a commentary track by the Wonka Kids, including Julie Dawn Cole, who played Veruca Salt, and Peter Ostrom, who played Charlie Bucket.
Gotta go forwards to go back.
Do I even need to say that this room is built on angles and that it just gets smaller as you go?
It was amazing. It was just as you see it.
The sad thing about this disc is that the movie was shot in widescreen, and they've chopped off the sides to make it TV shaped. A DVD disc has 2 sides. Would it have killed them to offer both formats? Still, it's a wonderful film. Willy Wonka at 30 ranks not far below The Wizard of Oz as a family classic. It's new on tapes and DVDs in our video spotlight.
Okay, coming up next, he keeps getting leading roles even though his movies stink. My parting shot when we come back.
Look, he's after me too.
Freddie Prinze Jr.'s movies sound like phrases from an English as a second language class. You've got Boys and Girls and Head Over Heels and Down to You and She's All That. He was also in I Know What You Did Last Summer and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which should have been titled I Still Know What You Did 2 Summers Ago. But the point is that Prinze is making a lot of bad movies, the latest being the bomb Summer Catch.
Dude, what are you doing?
When his movies are supposed to be serious, they're funny, and when they're supposed to be funny, they're just painful. He's a handsome young fella, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, but then again, so is my butcher, and he doesn't get to star in one awful movie after another. Can we send this guy to the showers already? That's my parting shot.
Okay, recapping this week's movies, a split decision on O, 2 thumbs down for Summer Catch. We both like Happy Accidents. A big split decision on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And finally, 2 thumbs up for An American Rhapsody.
Remember, you can hear our reviews at ebert-roeper-movies.com and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week, a special show in which we pick 10 young actors and actresses on the edge of stardom. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
I like the way that Jay and Silent Bob zinged into a special audience and gave them credit for some intelligence and inside information.
Well, you call it zingy, I call it tedious. And again, I just think they're so pleased with themselves saying, oh, look, we're so inside here that they forgot to come up with a decent story.
Most movies are so pleased with themselves that they're not about anything or aimed at anybody.
So you really enjoyed that whole bus trip?
A house is not a home until it's safe. The Brinks home security system, just $99 installed. Call 1-800-GO-BRINKS.
There's never been a better time to join America Online.
I planned all my vacations.
Get driving directions.
Email, it's fast, it's easy.
America Online. Call 1-800-4ONLINE.
Hey, looking great. The Conair rechargeable beard and mustache trimmer. Moves in close, trims any style with laser precision.
Looking great.
The Conair beard and mustache trimmer.
These babies were conceived using the Clear Plan Easy Fertility Monitor. It identifies more fertile days each cycle than any leading method. Clear Plan, clear results.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is brought to you by...
When I needed muffler service, Dad said there's just one name to trust.
Make it money.
At Meineke, you'll get a lot, but you won't pay a lot.